Hi everybody. So we're going to try this video a different way. We're going to try videoing it, and then I will try uploading it to Facebook since Facebook was not being, or it was being very contrary tonight. I think I figured out what the problem is. So a friend of mine and I figured it out, I think. So we will try Facebook next week for part 2 of Let Freedom Ring. So part 1 of Let Freedom Ring. So I'm just going to start from the beginning, go through the whole thing, video it, and then we will do hopefully the second half live. Okay, so Let Freedom Ring is this cute little flag wall hanging, and it comes out about 12 by 24. The size is about 12 by 24. There's only 24 blocks. All the blocks are 4 by 4, so it does not take very long. All the blocks are very fast to make. So I actually made the entire, almost all my blocks because I did them here a couple weeks ago. I did almost all the blocks in one afternoon, so it doesn't take too long to do them. So the first thing I wanted to do with your instructions is I wanted to talk a little bit about the fabric and the requirements. It's pretty self-explanatory. You need, so I used red, white, and blue fabric, of course. Back quarters for the little stars. You need some backing fabric, and I used just a plain kind of a light gray on the back. You need some cotton batting, or I actually use Hobbs 80/20, which works really well, and it's a nice lightweight batting. And then get some matching threads. I use just red, white, blue, gold, and silver thread for my design. So I have about 4 or 5 threads in it. So the cutting instructions, this is all on page 1 of your instructions. The cutting instructions are pretty self-explanatory again. You need 30 of the little rectangles that will be these little stripes up here. And I just have it all listed out for you. You do need no-show mesh for the stabilizer, and you need heat and bond to put on the back of your little applique material. So that's all the front page was cutting and your fabric requirements. So I think that was pretty self-explanatory. Now the one thing you do want to do in advance before starting your blocks is to prepare your little stars. So we did the video a couple weeks ago on Sew Along with Jan, the scan and cut class, and these were the little stars that I actually cut out. These were from this design. And I did these larger ones, so I've got these bigger ones too. And these are all, let's make sure I'm still recording here. Hopefully everything's working. Yep, looks like it. These are the little cutouts that I did, and I did these with my scan and cut because I showed you on that video from 2 weeks ago. It was the last video for April. Showed you how to take the PES files and create a cut file from them. I also, though, did the FCM files and the SVG files for this design recently. So if you did not have those, if you bought this years ago and you do not have those files, the FCMs and the SVG or the cutting files, let me know if you want them for your scan and cutter, like your silhouette cameo. Let me know, message me on Facebook and let me know that I want those, and I will be happy to send them to you because I did create them. I created on the scan and cut class, we actually created the designs right off of the PES file, and you can also do that. But if you want the actual cut files, I'll be happy to send them to you. So that's one way you can create your appliques. On the back, I used Heat and Bond Light because I am going to sew through this. My paper fell off of this one, so that's why there's paper laying here. And then this is the larger star. So there's 2 sizes of stars. Now, originally when I did this design, we were carrying the AccuQuilt Go babies and some of the dies. So this die is an AccuQuilt Go die. So this is also one of the options for getting your applique stars done. This is the star die, and it's die number 55028. So the 2 stars I used were this little one and this medium one. I didn't use the big one. So it was these 2 smaller ones. And the bigger star is this one, and the smaller one is this one. So if you have this die, you can use this die to cut your stars out. The reason you're going to cut these out is because these are going to be done with a kind of a traditional machine applique look, with an E-stitch. And so it's very hard to trim in the hoop. So you can see this block with the star on it. You can see the E-stitch around it. I don't know if my camera's going to focus or not. But that is why you want to cut these out in advance. So you don't want to trim these in the hoop. So that's the second way. So you can do them, you cut them with your scan and cut. You can either use the PES method that I showed you in the class a couple weeks ago, or I can send you the cut files that I created. You can try the die. This is an AccuQuilt die, and you can try that, or you can prepare them by, I also gave you a JPEG image of the two little stars, and you can just print them onto your paper and then cut them out with scissors. So there's 3 different ways of preparing the little stars. So this you need 6 of the smaller ones, and you need 9 of these larger ones. So that's one, page 2, and it talks about how to prepare those. And I think that should all make sense to you when you read them. Just depends on which method works for you and what you have available to you. Okay, so the third thing on page 2 then of the instructions is the trimming. Now I made a video for the trimming, and so for those of you again who ordered or bought this from me years ago, there was no video, so I made that video new. So if you need that video, message me through Facebook, text me, email me, and I will send you the video also for this. So the trimming, as you can see here on this page, and it talks a little bit about the trimming, but we're going to be trimming these blocks very much like we did the border blocks on the Starting Over quilt. So part of these blocks will be trimmed, with the batting will be trimmed away so that we can just seam them together, and we're going to put little strips on the back to cover up the raw edges. But around the outside edge here, we're going to trim through all the layers because that's where the binding is going to go. So that is going to be in the video. I did more detail about the trimming. We will talk a little bit about trimming next time for the part 2 of Let Freedom Ring, because we're going to put it together then. So, but anyway, if you can see, I have it written out here. You can see how you would trim it, and then in the video I go through and explain it more how to do the trimming. Okay, so that's on page 2. Now this particular design. Oh, let's look at this next page. Page 3 is going to be the assembly instructions, and we'll talk about that next week. But I wanted to show you the 2 pictures here. The first one is the one that I showed you originally and took a picture of, and then the second one is the one Judy made at the time we did this design, and she did hers in the dark. So hers are in the darker red, white, and blues, more like the primitive colors, and I did mine in the brights. So both of them look really nice, and you can just kind of pick your colors according to which ones you like better. So this one looks a little bit more primitive because it has the darker colors in it. Okay, so in this block, or in this little wall hanging, there are several kinds of blocks. There are plain stripe blocks, and at the top it tells you how many you need. So like you need 3 of those. There are star stripe blocks, and that's what it, whoops, this is what it looks like here. And you need a total of 6 of those. And then there are the star blocks, which are the, the blue star blocks, and you need 9 of these. And the last blocks, there are the word blocks, and there's words, God Bless America and Let Freedom Ring. So there's 6 of those total, but you make 1 each of each word to go into it. Okay, so let me pull this over so you can see my flag. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. I'll pull the camera up so you can see this a little bit better. But here is, so there's the 9 star blocks, and you can see the little gold blocks that have the stars in them, the gold stars. And then there's God Bless America, and at the bottom, Let Freedom Ring. Okay, so 24 blocks total, but there's only 4 different types of blocks in the design. So tonight we're going to sew 3 of the 4. The one I'm not going to sew tonight is going to be the, let me get back to my instructions here. I'm not going to sew the plain stripe block, because this block is the same as the other striped blocks, with the exception that there's nothing in the center. It's just plain. So we won't sew this one out, because once you've done some of the striped blocks, they're sewn exactly the same way, but there's just nothing in this one. Okay, so we're going to start tonight with the star stripe block. And whoops, it looks like I unthreaded my machine, so we'll just go ahead and thread it again. And so the first thing we're going to do is this star stripe block. And so that means I need this little gold star applique. We'll put the other one over here. And I need my backing, which is this light gray, and I need my top main fabric, which is this white with the little stars on it. And then I need my batting, and here's my two little stripes. So we're going to set those aside over here. And let's go get the design. And this one is called, go back to my stick, Let Freedom Ring. And this one is, and there's little folders with each one of these. And so this one's called Star Stripe Block. So that's the one we're going to start with tonight. And I'm going to touch that one. I'm going to set it. And then I'm going to embroider. Okay. So there's not too many steps in any of these. They're very simple. I did this design actually quite a long time ago, about 10 years ago, or more actually, and I did it for a May class because I needed a class for May and we needed something fast, and this was like a 2-week class, so it was really easy, and it was really easy and fun to do. So I think this will be a good one for our May class as well. All right, so in the instructions it says to hoop the stabilizer, and I have a piece of no-show mesh stabilizer in my 4x4 hoop. It only needs a 4x4. Then I'm going to place the batting and the main fabric, which is the white with the stars here. We're going to place that in the hoop on top of the stabilizer. And then I'm going to stitch out number 1, and I'm going to use white thread in the bobbin because that's the color I'm going to use for my stippling here. And then I'm going to use my bobbin thread in the bobbin. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the machine and stitch out step number 1, which is going to be kind of our little road map. It's going to sew the block down to the stabilizer first, and then it's going to show you where to put your applique pieces in. I always have to be very careful that I get my fabric on right side up because this is very easy it looks almost the same both ways. Okay, so then it's going to do these 2 little pieces here to show me where to put my applique pieces. And then I've got, I have to look at my next instruction. So there's the first one. And the second one. So all of the stripe blocks are basically done the way that the first one, so like those plain ones that we're not going to do tonight are done the same way to start with, but there's just nothing in the center. There's still stippling, but there's no little hole in the middle for whatever was going in there. Okay, so now when I look at step number 2 on my instructions, it says sew or skip the bead. So what I did is I put the B's, the letter B's in, so where you would put your other fabric if you weren't sure what color it was. But we really don't need to sew those out. If you want to sew them, you can, and you can put the fabric over them, but I normally do not sew them. So I'm going to go down here to the positive negative needle, and I'm going to go down to step number 3 then. So this is number 3, and I'm going to place my rectangles into the hoop to cover where the B's were at the top and the bottom. So we're going to go back down here to the machine, and so my B fabric needs to be here and here. Now you can put both of these in at the same time. You don't have to like tape them down or anything because the foot lifts in between the pieces, so it doesn't catch. I would watch it just to be careful, but it actually goes in here very well, and I don't have any problems usually. So now step number 3 is just going to be our tack down lines for these pieces of applique material. It's going to go around it a couple times, and then we will stitch, or we will trim close to the stitches, but we're not going to trim all of the fabric away because we want to make sure we have some fabric out on the outside edges for our seam allowance. So see how it lifts the foot, and then you don't have to worry about that second piece of fabric on there. So I just laid them both in at the same time. So it's going to go around it twice. So hopefully you'll be able, this will be good. This will be a good first video for you. I apologize we couldn't do this live, but if you have questions while you're watching this video, just go ahead and put messages in the post and I will get back to you about your questions. So now we need to, what it says to do is to trim close to the stitches inside the block and leave 1/2 inch outside. So inside means in this area here and here. We're not going to trim away these outside pieces. I want to leave those so that there's a seam allowance, okay? So I'm just going to trim inside the block right up to the stitches so that there'll be some satin stitches that'll go over that and cover up that raw edge. So I may have to pull this back so I can get it a little closer. Hopefully you can still see me. All right. There we go. So we got that one. Got them trimmed. And then the next step says, using fabric glue stick, attach the backing fabric to the underside of the hoop. So we're ready to put the backing on this block. So I'm going to turn this over. And my backing is this little gray polka dots. It's kind of like gray snowflakes almost. And I'm going to just run my glue stick around the outside edge there and lay my fabric and make sure it's right side up so you can see the pretty side of the fabric. And I'm just going to rub it on so that it is stuck well. And then I'm going to turn it over and just press down on it so that make sure it's stuck well. Slide this back into the machine. Now the one thing it does say then, we're going to do an outline first. It says to using white thread in the needle and the bobbin. So often when I use white thread at the top, I don't bother to change my bobbin thread. So I am just going to leave my bobbin thread in. If I was using another color in here, like a blue or a red or something, I would definitely put the matching thread in the bobbin. But I'm going to use white, so I'm just going to leave my bobbin thread for now. So slide this in, and I'm going to lift up on here and check underneath to make sure nothing flipped over on me. And then I'm going to sew out step number 4, which is just going to be my outline. Around the outside edge, it's going to hold down it's going to attach my backing to the stabilizer. You might have to hold your edges just a little bit. Just watch your fingers so you don't have a little flip there, okay? Now this is going to be my stippling. So the next step, number 5, is the stippling. And again, if I were going to put a different color stippling in here, I would definitely change to matching bobbin thread. But I'm just going to leave my white bobbin thread because I'm going to use my white thread. So we'll do the stippling. And again, this is the same exact way that you would do the plain block, but the stippling will be completely covering the inside on that block. And this one's going to leave a little hole in the center because of the little star that we're going to be ironing on in the center here in a second. Try to hang onto the camera so it doesn't bounce so much. I didn't realize how much my table bounced until I started using this camera. I think I've got the camera tight and everything. So anyway, while this is stitching, the problem that we had with Facebook tonight, I'm so sorry that happened. My friend Connie and I did some testing, and I figured out I have to use a different browser. Facebook is doing a lot of updates, and I know some of you are saying you're having problems with Facebook right now. Facebook is having problems with Facebook, I think. So what's happening is they have changed all their interfaces, and so I would highly recommend using Google Chrome for your browser, And for mine, in order to even use my camera, I have to use the Google Chrome beta version, which is like not the non-released version yet. So I had to go hunt that down, and it does work with that. So we will be working with that probably now to see if it works. The other thing they offered, they gave me an option of was Firefox. And Firefox was what I was trying to use in the class that kept shutting off. So I have a hard time with Firefox. So we will try the Google Chrome, and we may do a test video, a test live this week during the middle of the week sometime, just to get together and chat for a few minutes to see if everything's functioning well. So hopefully that'll work. Okay, so it's getting about done. It's got a little bit more stippling to do. And then I have to, make sure my little iron is hot over here, because we need to do iron on our applique in a minute. Looks like it's working well. I kind of miss doing this live because then everybody talks to me and asks me questions while we're sewing, and I miss that. So hopefully next week we'll be able to do the second half of this live. I just so rarely have problems, but they are doing a lot of changes on Facebook right now, and it's been very frustrating. And I think some of you have been saying you've been having problems, and I think part of it is the whole interface, all the interfaces are different now. So, okay. So now the next step is going to be the placement line for our little star. And I do want to go ahead and change my bobbin thread now because I want it to be matching. But also when I work with this, I notice I've got a few little tails here. And I like to trim as I go, so I'm just going to trim these little tails off to get them out of the way. Some of them will be covered up with the satin stitches, but I'm just going to trim them and get them out of the way. Now, so I kind of do that as I work on my blocks. That looks better. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and change to the yellow bobbin thread because I'm going to work with the star now. Here's my yellow. So we're going to put the yellow bobbin thread in. And I just wound my yellow thread. Now my thread I'm using tonight is Madeira Poly Neon. You know, you can use your Floriani, you can use your Madeira, whatever kind of thread you like. I just happen to or your brother thread or whatever. I just happen to have a lot of Madeira, so I use Madeira a lot. I've been using Madeira long before I started using any of the other threads, so I really like it. And I have every color. There are a lot of colors. Okay, so we're going to thread the machine with the yellow thread because that's what I want to use for my little star. And we're going to slide this in here, and step number 6 is just going to be our placement line so that we know where to put our star. So just going to do an outline. And there's my star. Now I'm going to show you something that I never do. I very rarely do this. I did make these, we made these in class, a while ago, these lovely little ironing pads, and I very rarely iron on my machine. I just don't like to, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to show you. I have that nice little iron that I was talking to you about a week or so ago, and my wool ironing mat. I usually take it over here on the side of my machine, and this fits just perfectly here, this wool mat. And I just take my hoop out of the machine, take it over there to iron. But I want you to be able to see, and the camera doesn't reach over there very well. So I'm just going to iron on my little ironing mat. This is going to be safe, though, for my machine. There's a layer of Insulbrite and 2 layers of batting in there, so we're going to be fine. So I'm going to take this out. I just very rarely do this, though. So we're going to lay this on the ironing mat. Let's see if I can make sure you can see what I'm doing here. And I've got my outline. You can't see it too well on the video. I apologize. There's a little bit of a glare. But I'm going to take my star. Oops, let's get the paper out of the way. I'm going to take my star. Now this star is almost exactly the same on every side, but there always seems to be an orientation that fits better in the placement line. So sometimes I have to rotate the star around till I get it the way that it fits nicely. And this is actually fitting well like this. Well, maybe not. Let's flip it over. So I usually have to flip it a couple times till I get the best fit. Still not fit too well. So let's try flipping it this way. Yeah, it looks better. So you just have to kind of get it to fit. I always have to flip them around until I get the best fit. But they're almost exactly the same. It's just a little bit different. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to lay that inside my placement line. With that light color, it's a little hard to see on the video, so I apologize. And I'm going to take my little iron. Here's my little iron, that little mini iron. I just love them. And there are more coming in, by the way, for those of you who noticed they were out of stock. And I'm just going to hold that down on my star and just get it attached to my fabric. Now, if you're a little off, you can still take your fingernail and adjust your star just a little bit, because mine was just a little bit off, and give it just another little shot like that. And there is my star attached to my fabric. Okay, bring it up a little bit so you can see. There, that looks good. Okay, so that's all within my placement lines. And I'm now ready to do the tack down. Now the tack down is going to be more of a traditional E-stitch, like a traditional machine and applique stitch. Okay, get the little ironing pad out of the way. And then we're going to do the E-stitch. I'm leaving the same color in the fabric, or the same color of thread, sorry. That matches my fabric. That's what I meant to say. And it's doing that little E-stitch around there. All right. So you can see these blocks don't take too long. Like this block says the sewing time is 6 minutes. And you do have to make a few of them, but most of the blocks are very short. Now, I also like to go down, like I said before, I like to kind of trim as I go. So I have a couple of little ends, like there's a little nest here from the knots. So I'm going to get those trimmed down so that they don't get caught on anything else. And we're going to have some satin stitches next, so it'll cover up some of that. Okay, so trim the back as you go. And then I'm going to change my bobbin thread again. This time we're going to just do those satin stitches right here. So I want that to be the red. So I'm going to put my red bobbin in. Anytime I have the back on any of these kind of blocks, I always want to use matching thread on the back because I want the back to be pretty too. Now you don't have to. You can just use bobbin thread if you want to. But I've always liked the pretty colors on the back. And I usually try to do kind of a light colored backing so that the colors show. Like when I did starting over, it was the same white that was on the front, so it really showed a lot. This is a little bit lighter or a little bit darker, so you don't see it quite as much, but it is really nice to have the matching colors. Okay. Put my door back on. We'll put this back in, and then we're going to do the satin stitches, which is the last step of this block. Okay, so this is my 6th block, so I've done all my blocks of this, and then I will have to trim this one yet. So I'll go through the trimming a little bit more next time, and I also have the video. So again, if you need the video, if you bought this years ago and don't have that video for the trimming, message me and let me know that you would like the video, and I'll send it to you. And then also the same thing with those cut files for the appliques. If you would like those, I would be happy to send them to you. Some people might not want them, but I thought I'd let everybody have them if they wanted them. And the video was kind of fun to do. I've gotten so I make some more videos. Hopefully you like that. I don't know why it's kind of overexposed. I don't know why, so sorry about that. Okay, so it's going to do the second one. It's a little hard. I have a lot of lights over my sewing machine, and with these light colors, it's easier with darker colors. The next one is going to be on a darker fabric, so it'll be easier to see. Get the little stripes done. But these are really fun to do. Like I said, I spent the afternoon one afternoon just making them, and I got most of them done except for like one block of each type because I wanted to show you the different types of blocks. Just about done. Okay. And there is, and this is the star stripe block. Everybody see the little E stitches on there? It turned out, and then this is the back. So I'll do a little trimming, yet on the back. Like, whoops, still got a little hair there. Like these little pieces here don't really need to be trimmed that much because they will be covered up in the seam. Okay, but then I'm going to take this out and we'll do another block. So this is the star stripe block. You need 6 of these. And we will do another block. So each one of these blocks is a little different. Let's see. So let's do the star block next. We'll do the other applique block, and then we'll do one of the word blocks. So this is the fabric for that one. And let's see. Oh, I have to find my stabilizer. So here's my stabilizer. Again, we're going to put a piece of no-show mesh in the hoop. I kind of like these pre-cuts. I'm kind of lazy and I don't like to cut stabilizers, so I still buy the pre-cuts even though they're a little expensive now, but I think it's worth it. Okay, so I'm going to look at my instructions. So that was the star stripe block, so you need to make 6 of those. And the block that we're going to make next is the star block. So this is the ones that are on the left-hand side of the flag. And you need 9 of these. Whoops, up here, 9 of these. And this one says hoop the stabilizer, which I just did. Using fabric glue stick, attach the backing fabric to the underside of the hoop. So we're actually going to start with the backing on the block. With that being said, remember I like to use that matching thread in the bobbin. So I'm going to use blue because I'm going to use blue for the stippling. So I'm going to put my blue bobbin in the bobbin, blue thread in the bobbin. And what it said to do is turn the hoop over. Let me turn this a little bit so you can see it. And we're going to put the backing fabric on first. So I'm going to take a little glue stick. Okay, go around the square, and then I'm going to put this, again, with the pretty side up, face up, and rub it on, and then I'm going to turn it over and just rub on it to make sure that it's stuck down well on the back. So that's on the back. And then we're going to put the batting and the backing fabric, or the main fabric. So on these, this is going to be one of these star blocks up here. So I'll hold my, it's going to be one of these star blocks here. So it's going to have the blue fabric as the backing instead. So I got my my batting, and then we'll lay the piece of blue on top of there. And whoops, get that in the hoop there. And I'm going to slide this in. Now I always pick this up just to make sure that I don't have something flipped over underneath. And we're going to switch the thread to the blue thread. Because the first thing that's going to happen is going to be, this number 1 is going to be, it's going to sew down the fabric to the hoop, and then it's going to do the stippling. So this one doesn't have as many steps to it, because basically it's all going to be, we're going to only have like 2 steps in this one. Okay, so we have to go get our design. So I'm going to hit the little home button up here to get rid of this one. And then I'm going to go down to embroidery. I'm going to go find my stick. And then I'm going to go to Let Freedom Ring. And then this one is called the star block. So you want to go into the folder that says star block, and here's our star block. I'm going to hit set and embroidery. Okay, so there's the star block. So that, see, this one only has 3 steps in it, so it doesn't take very long at all. This one's about 4 minutes. And you do have to make 9 of them, but it doesn't, it's very, very quick. All right, so we have our blue thread in the bobbin, The backing is on the underside, and I've got my blue thread on the top. So we're going to go ahead and stitch out step number 1, which is going to be, at first it's going to sew it down to the hoop and go around the outside edge. You may need to hold it down a little bit. My batting, sometimes I use Hobbs, and it's a little bit poofier than some of my other cotton batting, so I have to sometimes hold it down a little bit. Okay, so it's going to do the stippling on the star. So the whole thing's stippled, and then it's going to leave kind of a hole in the center for the stippling so that we can iron our star down, because we also have to do an applique for this one. So yeah, this was a very fun project. I wanted something small to hang up on the wall for like the patriotic holidays, and I had done some of the Hoop Sisters ones years ago, and they had this really cool flag, and it's really big. Even the 5x5 blocks were rather large, so I wanted something smaller than that. So this one is a nice little wall hanging you can set. You can put up on the wall quickly. Makes a nice table runner as well. So this was a fun thing to digitize. I think I had to do it in like just a couple of days. I remember doing this, and I think I had the whole thing done in just a couple of days because we needed it in a hurry for a class. So I remember working on it, like one weekend and having the whole thing done. And then Judy helps me with the sewing usually. So I know she sewed one, and I think I sewed the other one though, for the original samples. So it's doing the stippling. So hopefully next week we'll be able to do this live, and I can answer questions while we're sewing. I think I might have Facebook figured out a little bit. My friend Connie does a lot of classes also on Facebook, and she's been having some very hard times with Facebook the last month or so. And so she's actually been doing all of her videos this way and uploading them to YouTube, because she couldn't even get them to upload to Facebook. So I tested the video, and mine did upload to Facebook, so hopefully this one will. It's going to be a little longer though, because I wanted to do 3 blocks. So we'll see. Hopefully everything will work. If it doesn't work on Facebook, I will tell you where the video is to watch. Facebook likes to change things, and you never know how they're going to work when they get changed. So obviously they change them, and then they don't actually get them tested very well. Looks like there's just a little bit more to do yet. There's a little bit down here at the bottom yet to do. So I learned a lot about finding beta browsers tonight. I had to go find the Google Chrome beta browser and download that and get that installed. So now it actually did work. So I think I will put up an event for later in the week, and we'll do a little test, just a little chat session, and we'll test it to see how it works before next Sunday's class. So hopefully we won't have to sit and video after class again like I did this week. Okay. Oh, it looks like it's about done. It's getting close. Okay. So now the second instruction says stitch the applique placement line using silver thread in the needle and bobbin. So I want a silver thread to be around my little star that I'm going to put it in. So we're going to switch the thread to the silver. Let's see if I can find it here. There it is. And we'll also change the bobbin thread because I would like it to match. Okay, whoops. Let's take this out. Find my silver bobbin. Okay, now I also have a few little tails. Oops, there goes my glue stick. I'll have to find that on the floor. Get some of these little tails out of the way so they don't get caught on things. Some of these are going to be in the seam allowance, so it won't matter, but they kind of get caught and stuff, so I like to kind of work with them as I go. There we go. That's better. This one's kind of got caught. Okay. Put this back in, and now we're going to do the placement line for the little star. I have my glue stick because I'll be looking at that next. All right. So you can see that placement line real well. So this time you'll be able to see better when I'm putting it on. With those light colors, it's hard. So I'm going to do the same thing. Like I said, I normally don't do this. I like to put it over on my wool ironing mat. But I'm going to lay my little ironing mat down underneath here so you can see me doing this. And then I'm going to pull back a little bit. And then again, the same thing with these stars. These stars are almost identical, but there always seems to be one way you put it in that it fits better. So I kind of have to rotate it around until I get the best fit. That's not the best fit. So let's see here. Oh, that looks better. Okay. So we're going to get that laid into that placement line like that. I'm going to get that nifty Notions mini iron, and I'm going to set it down and iron that down to my fabric so it won't move. And if you need to adjust a little bit, you can still move it just a little bit. It looks pretty good. Yeah, I just love this little mini ironing pads. For some of you who are new, that video, or there's a video on Sew Along with Jan, and there's also a the pattern is up there also, so you can get that down. It's in the Dropbox for the group. So the link is up there under announcements, so you can get it. Okay, so there's my star. It's all ironed down. I'm going to let it cool just a little bit. Got my silver thread in the bobbin. Yeah, I think it's okay. And then I'm going to do my E-stitch around my star, just like we did with the smaller. Originally, when I did this, I found some silver thread with the little like glitter on it. This one I couldn't find. I didn't have any more of that silver, so this one's white with the silver glitter. So it still looks nice though. I just used fabric that I had here at the house, so I didn't go buy any new fabric. I haven't been out like shopping for fabric or anything, so I just used what I had available. It does not take very much fabric, so you can just kind of use scraps. That's kind of what I use, is scraps from some other classes. So, okay, that is the star block. So you need to make 9 of these. See how quickly that went? And I'll go ahead and turn it over and clean it up a little bit on the back. Have a couple more little knots back here we need to trim off. So we'll clean that up on the back. And then I will trim this one. Now this one is this is the 9th one. So like if we, on the trimming, we'll talk about trimming a little bit more, but it's this one that I have to trim. So this one on the bottom of it, I'm going to trim through all the layers because that's where the binding goes, and then I'm going to trim the batting out all the way around the other 3 sides. So it's real important to pay attention when you're doing the trimming. And the trimming video, I go in that more detail, so I'm sure you'll understand how to do the trimming. But you need to make 9 of these blocks. Okay, so there's the second block that we wanted to make. Okay, so we'll take this one out of the hoop. I'm going to be so excited after this. I'm going to have all my blocks done. Okay, so I'm going to put my stabilizer, my no-show mesh stabilizer in my hoop. And we're going to make one more block because there was something special that I learned with the letter blocks that I wanted to show you. Okay. So we're going to do the lettering blocks. So this is going to be, excuse me, the word stripe blocks. They're called word stripe blocks. And we're going to do, now I already did God Bless America, and I did Let Freedom, and I'm going to do the word ring. So that's the one I'm going to do tonight, okay? So we're going to hoop the stabilizer like we did. Now this one we're going to go back like to the first block. So we're going to place the batting and the fabric square in the hoop. We're not going to put the backing on yet. So I do want to put my bobbin thread back in my bobbin. So I'm just going to use my bobbin thread, my white bobbin thread. And then I need to find my pieces here. So I need, need this one. So here's my white backing and my batting. So that's the two I want. I'm going to put those in the hoop. Got to make sure I get this right side up again. Put those together. And then these are going to go in the hoop. Looks like I got some blue thread attached. There we go. Okay. Then I'm also going to go back to my white thread for this one. So we're going to do the word ring. My white thread. Okay. So these are called word stripe blocks. So we're going to go back over here to the machine. Let's hit the home button again and hit OK so we can get back to the home. And go to embroidery and my memory stick, and I'm going to go back into Let Freedom Ring. And then we want the ones that say, oh, I have them in separate folders. I put them in God Bless America stripe blocks and Let Freedom Ring stripe blocks. So I have already done God Bless America, so I'm going to do Let Freedom, and I need to do the word ring. So I'm going to do Let Freedom Ring. That's what the folder says. Whoops, there we go. And PES, and then I'm going to go get the word ring. So that's the one that I need to do yet. And I'm going to hit Set and Embroidery. Okay, so we're going to start out like we did for the first one. I'm going to put this into the machine. And the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to put like a little road map. It's going to sew this down to the hoop first and do like a little road map so we know where to put our applique material. Got that one a little off center, didn't I? But it's still okay. All right, so I got to find my applique material because we have to put some stripes on this block. I'm going to do the two stripes. And go down to the second one. Turn the camera maybe just a little bit more for you. There we go. All right. So just like we did on the first one, we're going to put the two pieces of applique material down. I'm going to leave the white thread in the machine. And again, I want to make sure that I have these laid so that they're going to cover my placement lines. I got a little off up here, so I've got a little bit extra white on the top. And then I'm going to put this one down at the bottom. And it's fine to put them both in at the same time because the foot's going to lift and go from here to here, and it'll be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and we need to look at the instruction though, because it says to sew or skip the B. So I did put the letter B's in so that you know that's where the B fabric's going to go. And if you weren't sure, I don't like to sew those, so I'm just going to go ahead and click the plus minus needle down at the bottom again. Go down to step number 3. And OK, and then I'm going to sew out my tack down lines. So this will be the tack downs. I just leave the white thread in. And I didn't tape these or anything, I just kind of hold them down. They're pretty small so they don't move around too much. And the plain blocks are going to be done the same way. The plain stripe blocks are done the same way. So See how it lifts the foot? You don't have to worry about catching that bottom one. You can, it lifts the foot high enough, so it's fine. We go around this one, this stripe. It goes around it twice. Okay, so now we need to trim. You want to trim close to the stitches again, inside the block. That means inside here. And we're going to leave all of this around the outside edge because we need something for the seam allowance. So I'm just going to trim in here and trim it close to the stitches. Oops, I missed. There we go. And if you pull it out, it'll be a little easier to get to the second one. I always have trouble with the top ones. And we'll trim close to the stitches. I like to kind of pull up on it so I get real close. Pull up on the inside edge because then I can get real close like that. All right. Get rid of some of the little lint. And now we are going to add the backing. So I'm going to turn it over, use my glue stick, go around the outside edge, and I'm going to put my backing on. Remember to put the pretty side up. Smooth it on, and then I'm going to turn it over and press down to make sure that it's attached well. Slide this in. I'm just going to leave this white thread in here. That's fine. I'm going to be doing some stippling too, but I'll just use my white bobbin thread for the stippling since it's white thread. Make sure there's no flips under there. I like to check it. And then, whoops, looks like my needle's going to come unthreaded though. There we go. Put my foot down, and we're going to do, this is going to be the tack down for the backing. Around the outside edge. And this was step number 4. We're getting ready for step number 5. And this will be the stippling on the inside of this block. Now it does stipple the entire rectangle area because this one is going to sew the lettering on top. And the plain block is basically just exactly like this, and then you would end after the stippling because there's no lettering or anything in that. So this is that's why I decided not to do that block tonight. You could figure that one out from these. So this one's going to do all the stippling through the whole middle. I need to find, let's see, oh, I think we're going to do the lettering in blue. I think I did it in blue. I'll show you my other blocks while that's stitching. So here's let, freedom, and, whoops, ring is what I'm doing right now. And then here's God, bless, America. I thought this was a cool font. This was a true type font that I found. Isn't that cool with the stars in it? I used it for something else, and then I thought, oh, it would look neat on this one too. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to go look it up again. I've got it in the folder on my computer, but I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I thought it was really cool though, and it has stars like on all the letters like that. And I think I did the lettering long time. Well, see, I did this a long time ago, so I think I actually did the lettering in PE Design on this one. I digitized these in the old Floriani software, which is now Dime software. But I think I did the lettering in PE Design because they handled true type fonts differently, and it was a lot easier to do true type fonts in that software at the time. And now the Dime software does the true type fonts the same way. So now I can just use Dime. Just about done. But I had a little trick that I figured out about the lettering. So I wanted to show you this lettering block so you saw my little trick. So there's a total of, what, 6 of these? Yeah, 6 of the letter blocks. So now it's going to do the words. So I am actually going to change the bobbin thread again. I'm going to check this. See, I need to do a little bit of trimming back here. So we'll trim on the back just a little bit. There's a couple little tails that are in the way here. There we go. Okay. Now, I normally don't do this with lettering, but since I want it to be pretty on the back, I am actually going to change my color, my blue, and put the blue embroidery thread in the bobbin so that the back is like a mirror image of the word, so it's real pretty on the back. So I am going to change the bobbin thread to the blue, and I'm going to change the top thread to the blue. Now when I was doing this, I had made this little design for a while, and the first one I had a hard time with the letters. These letters are kind of thin letters, and they have a lot of jump stitches in them. That means that it has a lot of trims, and then it ties a lot of knots. So I was getting all these knots on the back, and it was a little bit distracting to me. So I figured out a little trick to keep that from being so knotty on the back. I just turn off the jump clipper. So I'm going to do the blue letters here, but I'm going to go down here and I'll show you how to turn the jump clippers off on your machines. On the embroidery screen like this, you're going to look for, oops, I can hear kind of a shadow, don't I? You're going to look for the little scissors button down here. It looks like a pair of scissors. And it says there's an end color trim and jump stitch trim. So I'm going to turn off the jump stitch. So it's not going to tie knots every time it jumps around. The reason it does is because this font had a lot of little elements, and it also had all those little stars. So I turned it off, and it really helped with the cleanliness of the back of the block. So I'm going to go ahead, whoops, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and sew out the letters ring. But you'll see why, because when it goes, it did a bunch of, it has like a lot of little narrows, satin stitches, and then it had all those little stars and everything. So it had all these little ties on the back, and it made it a little messy looking on the back. So when I turned the jump clipper off, it really made a difference. This is kind of like a split font. It had like all these little splits in it. And it was kind of neat, but the satin stitches are fairly narrow on it. So then, of course, since I turned the jump clipper off, I am going to have to trim a little bit more, but that's okay because it's easier to trim the long jumps than all those little tails and all those little knots in the back. So when I get it all done, I'll trim those all up. It doesn't take too long to do this. These are pretty quick. But all of the designs, and I know I had a bunch of people that made multiples of these because they don't take too long. They're just, there are 24 blocks, but all the blocks take about maybe 5 to 8 minutes maximum. So most of them, go pretty quickly. So it's doing the G. But yeah, so this font was really neat. It has all the, I don't know if I can get this close enough, but you can see all these little splits in the letters. Let's try freedom because it has more letters. But you can see all the little splits and everything, and then I had all these little stars in it. It was just a really cool font. So I'll have to see if I can find the name of it. I know I've got it in the folder. I kept it in the folder that I did the design. And then it's going to go do the little stars now. So ring has a little star in the middle of the bottom of the R, and then the I, the period, the dot on the top of the I is a little star. It's doing that. I think there might be one more star on it yet. Yeah, there was one more on the top of the G. Yep. There's ring. So then with these, then you want to do your trimming. You can see all the little, I don't know if you can see them very well. I'm going to get a little bit closer. You can see some of the line. There's all these little threads. So we'll trim these off. I won't do all of them now. I can do it later. because it's not they're not going to get covered up with anything else. But I would trim these all and get it all cleaned up. But it makes the back a lot better because then every time it jumped, it was just the way the font was digitized. But every time it jumped, then it was leaving a great big knot, and so it left so many knots in the back. So that's why I turned it off, and it works really well. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll go over here and we'll turn that jump clipper back on again. So again, here's the little scissors down here, and I'm going to turn my jump clipper back on now and click OK. And then we'll do the last step. So the last step is going to be the red satin stitches. So let's put the red in the bobbin. Okay. And get my red thread. This was kind of a dark red. Mine was kind of it wasn't as dark as Judy's was that she made, her design, but it is darker than my original one. The blue was a lot darker, and so was the red. So okay, and I'll do my trimming back here. You can see I've got a bunch of trimming to do back here too, but I'll do that later. Okay, so now we're ready to do the satin stitching. Let's put this down so you can see it. All right, we'll do the 2 satins, and then this block will be done. So I only have one more to do, and then I have all my blocks done for next week, so then we can put them together. I might even put a few of them together so that some of them are sewn together, so you don't have to sit there and watch me sew the whole thing together. But they're pretty fast to go together, and putting you put the strips on the back. What scares a lot of people putting it together is that you actually sew the strips on from the back. And for these I usually use monofilament. So we're going to be using monofilament thread, the clear thread, and we'll use that for doing the strips next time. Because that way when you have so many different colors in the front, it's hard to know what color to use, and the monofilament just kind of blends in with everything. So. Okay, so we did the first satin stitch, and now it's going to do the second one. So I've got all my blocks over here all trimmed and everything, so I'm really excited. I got it on. I'm going to have one of these all put together. So I did it one afternoon. I said, oh, I'm just going to sit down and sew these. So I sat down and sewed them and spent the whole afternoon sewing and getting familiar with the pattern. I haven't done it for a long time, so it's kind of fun to do something that I hadn't done for a long time. Starting over was fun too. I really enjoyed doing that. I hadn't made it for a very long time, and I really liked my quilt after it turned out. I got it laying on the back bedroom on the bed right now. So, all right, so we're about done. Okay. So that is one of the word stripe blocks. All right. So there is so I've got Let Freedom and Ring now. All right. So that is all the blocks that I wanted to do this time. So just be watching on your pattern then. Second, we get up in here. You need to make your 6 star blocks that have the little stars, the stripes. And you're going to do 3 plain ones, and then 9 of the star blocks, and 1 each of God Bless America and Let Freedom Ring. And so then watch your video for the trimming and have your blocks trimmed, because next week what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to put this together and put the strips on the back. And so if you have all your blocks done, then you can start putting it together. So if you have any questions, please message me through Facebook, or you can text me or email me, and I can answer your questions. And hopefully this video will upload okay. So I apologize for the problems this evening, but I think I know what to do now. And hopefully this video will go up okay, and you'll be able to watch it tonight or tomorrow. So thank you very much, and I'll be seeing you next week live, and we will learn to put Let Freedom Ring together. Thank you, everybody. Good night.